Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parihaham Jakacharya Ashtotara Sadhisa A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Pardon?
You can, it's Krishna Kripas, you can borrow it for the morning if you want.
No, I'm okay. No, I'm fine. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Jai Sachi Sutta Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki. Shri Radha Parisisvara Ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Grand glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vastavakale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Nami. Namaste Saraswati Devam. Gauravani Bacharine Nevasesha Sanyavadi Pastachari Shatani. Jai Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Jai Haribol. So we're reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know which verse you're reading from. Do you know?
8, 19, 34.
34, 8, 19, 34. Beginning with Kramatogam. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Kramatogam Padaikena.
Ramatogam Padaikena.
Dvitiyena Divang Vibhaho.
Dvitiyena Divam Vibho.
Kang Chakayena Mahata.
Kamchakayena Mahata.
Tatiyasya Kuto Gatihi.
Tatiyasya Kuto Gati.
Kramatogam Padaikena.
Ramatogam Padaikena.
Dvitiyena Divang Vibhaho.
Dvitiyena Divam Vibho.
Kang Chakayena Mahata.
Kamchakayena Mahata.
Tatiyasya Kuto Gatihi.
Tatiyasya Kuto Gatihi.
Kramatogam Padaikena.
Ramatogam Padaikena.
Dvitiyena Divang Vibhaho.
Dvitiyena Divam Vibho.
Kang Chakayena Mahata.
Kamchakayena Mahata.
Tatiyasya Kuto Matihi.
Tatiyasya Kuto Gatihi.
Somebody else? Kramataha.
Ramataha.
Gradually.
Gradually.
Gam.
Gam.
The surface of the land.
The surface of the land.
Padaikena.
Padaikena.
By one step.
By one step.
Dvitiyena.
Dvitiyena.
By the second step.
By the second step.
Divam.
Divam.
The whole of outer space.
The whole of outer space.
Vibhaho.
Vibho.
Of the universal form.
Of the universal form.
Kamcha.
Kamcha.
The sky also.
The sky also.
Kayena.
Kayena.
By the expansion of.
By the expansion of.
His transcendental body.
His transcendental body.
Mahata.
Mahata.
By the universal form.
By the
Tartiyasya, as far as the third step is concerned, kutaha, where is gatihi, to keep his step. So we have Shukracharya continuing to speak here. It's kind of interesting, isn't it, how he's a yogi. He's also a very learned personality, and he can see what's going to happen. He has this ability to understand exactly what's going to happen here. That Vamanadev is not only, he even addresses him as a supreme, the fatigable supreme personality of Godhead. He addresses Vamana as Bhagavan in his address earlier. And he knows that this boy is come in this form. He's one of the characteristics of Krishna. Is the greatest of cheaters. He can take everything away. Don't give him. Don't you understand what he's going to do? And here, probably in this verse, he's explaining the details, famous details of what he's going to do. If you continue to fulfill your promise to him, of course he tries to rationalize Shukracharya in various ways, presenting various arguments why Bali Maharaj is not obligated to fulfill his promise. Tries to discourage him, but this is one of the methods. You're going to lose everything. The previous verse he said, you'll have no means of livelihood left. You'll be on the streets of Paris begging at the traffic lights. You'll have nothing left. Or you'll join the Hare Krishna movement. Nothing failed in the material world. You'll be finished. As Prabhupada says, actually, in one sense, he was more concerned about his own future, because Shukracharya, although he was a yogi, but he was nonetheless being maintained by, in one sense, by Bali Maharaj. But here he's sort of, he plays an interesting role in Krishna's pastimes. So he says here, sometimes you see even Narada Muni is like, plays some unusual roles in Krishna's pastime. He always seems to favor the demons sometimes. Vamanadev will first occupy the three worlds with one step. Come on, Bali Maharaj, wake up. Wake up. With one step he's going to occupy the three worlds. Then he will take his second step and occupy everything in outer space. Sometimes we hear the first step was the lower and middle planetary systems, the third step the upper. But here in the Bhagavatam it says he'll occupy the three worlds with one step, and his second step he'll occupy everything in between, outer space and everything else, with his second step. And then he will expand his universal body, and when he does the second step, to occupy everything. There won't be anything left. He's taken it all and he's expanded himself throughout it, his universal form. So what are you going to do? Where will you offer him the third step? You say you want to fulfill your promise. You're going to break your promise anyway. You're not going to be able to fulfill your promise. There won't be anything left to give. Or better don't give. You're going to break your promise one way or the other. So better not to give, because it's unfavorable for you. Huh? It's not good. Your whole maintenance, when your life maintenance is at threat, then you're not, this is one of his arguments, huh? You're not obligated. You don't have to give it. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes, Shukracharya wanted to tell Bali Maharaj how he would be cheated by Lord Vamana. You were promised 3 steps, he said, but with only 2 steps, all your possessions will be finished. How then will you give him a place for the 3rd step? Sukracharya did not know how the Lord protects his devotee. Although they have knowledge, the sometimes materialists, they have some degree, at least Sukracharya had a large degree, but some degree of knowledge that, God is great and whatever, like that. But they try to defy him. They try to remove him from the formula, try to get rid of him. So here they don't understand, because they see things materially. Even though materially speaking here you can see Sukracharya, he's Bhagavan and he's going to take everything away. But he doesn't understand what everything is. If he does, he's not expressing it at least. What everything is, they tend to think everything is material. The nature of the demoniac mentality, they think everything's material. So Sukracharya is presenting a pretty material argument here, not understanding the internal relationship or the real wealth, just like with Dhruva Maharaj. She was approaching Krishna with a material intention. He wanted very much to have a great kingdom. Krishna fulfilled his desire also, but when he actually, by the grace of Narada again, he obtained his meditative purpose, at least, to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ask for his fulfillment of his desire. But when he had the opportunity to have the darshan of the Lord, then he lost that desire. He felt he gained a something really valuable, really valuable. When he compared all the material wealth of the universe to practically nothing. Nothing at all. I've now gained the greatest gem. He compared it to a piece of broken glass, the material. In his case, he wanted a great kingdom. In Bali's case, he already had it. He pretty much occupied the entire planetary systems, and save and except the most upper planetary systems. But all the middle and lower planetary systems, the heavenly planets, lower heavenly planets, he was the ruler of all the... People get proud of ruling a little tract of land on Earth, but it's pretty much nothing. We're really disturbed, and we don't want to give up even... we have the mentality of Duryodhana or something. We don't even want to give up 1 square inch of our property. We'll go to court over it sometimes, practically speaking. So attached to our little tiny, whatever it is, wealth, assets, etc., that we'll fight over a small piece of land, a useless piece of land. So what to speak in the case of Bali Maharaj, who occupied everything we can see, basically speaking. He was the ruler not just of this planet, but the ruler of the universe. Ultimately, that's Lord Brahma. But he was the ruler of the visible, let's say, planets, the worlds that we don't understand what's on them, but we may, to a tiny degree, perceive their existence. All the planets in the sky, practically speaking, save and except a few. And you can imagine. Yeah, he could give away a planet or two and not notice it, but here he's going to lose the whole lot. Yeah, if you're a little generous, you might give away a little of your land now and again. But not everything. But he's going to lose everything. Don't you understand? This Brahmin boy is nothing but a cheat. Of course, we're the cheats really, because we think it's ours. Nothing belongs to us. So Prabhupada continues. How the Lord will protect his devotee, internally protect him. One thing, there's two or three ways we could look at that one. One is he protected him by inspiring him how to fulfill his promise and gave him the inspiration how to do that. And another way is the real protection of a devotee is that he loses his attachment, loses his false identification. We may think, how is this? This is not protecting the devotee. You protect the devotee. Why, Prabhu, I've been chanting Hare Krishna now for 3 days. Why is Krishna taking away? We had one devotee in London many years ago. He was a long time. I remember that story. Yeah, he was quite well-to-do actually, an Indian man, quite well-to-do, and he was coming to the temple, and see if I can get the story. It's a long time. I may get it wrong. He was coming to the temple regularly, and all of a sudden he stopped coming. And after quite some time he came back again, and I don't know who it was. One devotee asked him, what happened? Where have you been? He said, I was coming to the temple and, praying to Krishna, and Krishna took everything away from me. I lost my job. I had a good job. I couldn't pay my mortgage. I lost my house. My wife got fried with me. I lost my wife. I lost everything. I lost my friends, everything. What is this? I thought, what is this? I worship Krishna and he takes everything away. He came back. Because he didn't realize that, this. And then I asked him, you were praying. What you were praying for? Well, I was praying to Krishna to please remove the obstacles on my... He didn't see it, he didn't catch it. Then he caught it, Because they're not necessary obstacles, but if we are thinking of obstacles were obstacles on his material path, in terms of achievements. People think that that's God's role to protect my material assets. Please, my Lord, protect me. We don't mean me, we mean my body. Please, my Lord, give me a good job. Give me a nice husband, a nice wife who will do what I say. Please give me what I want. I'm worshipping you, God. Many cases, if not all, but most cases, people will approach the Lord like this. Dhruva Maharaj was more or less like that. They're approaching the Lord for fulfillment of material desire, and they think if they get it, that means, God's He's a good God. And then the good God has to protect it to make sure I don't lose it from my enemies or whatever it may be. Even they think that God should protect me, I don't die, and different things. Or if I do die, you make sure I go to heaven, but don't interfere with me up there. I want to enjoy. They're oftentimes somewhat not understanding the real treasures of devotional service. I'm missing the point. Although their endeavor to achieve their material objectives was tinged with some degree of devotion. Even Bali Maharaj was performing yagyas, sacrifices, and what have you. And there is worship of Vishnu in those sacrifices. There's a degree of bhakti. He's always worshipped along with others, of course, but given priority in the various mantras which are chanted, I don't know, given that priority there. So there's a tiny, at least a small degree of devotion to the Lord there, maybe mixed, but something's there. In the case of Bali Maharaj, of course, he's a covered devotee, you could say. He's covered by arrangements of the Lord, but he's covered to appear to be in the demoniac army, demoniac side, against the demigods, against Vishnu in one sense, you could say, although Bali Maharaj himself was not necessarily of that avowed nature. The grandson of Prahlad Maharaj? Yes. Grandson. And so he was in that dynasty of Prahlad Maharaj, and Krishna had said he would not kill anyone in that dynasty, so he killed him in a different way. And from a material perspective, he killed him by basically taking everything away. Everything. I mean, he took his body, he bound him up, eventually. Took everything. So in one sense, he was finished. But one has to be finished with these illusions, with these ideas, these more false identities, these false attachments to what doesn't belong to us anyway, in order to really be eligible to inherit the real wealth of pure devotional service. As long as that devotional service is mixed with these motivations of mundane achievement, then we never taste the real essence of pure devotion. We'll get at the best some kind of reflection, but not the real thing. A reflection of something may look similar, may look almost the same, but there's no substance there, there's no depth, there's no reality there, it's just another form of illusion. You can say it may be a little bit more related to reality, but it's still nonetheless an illusion. And one who's too much attached to that reflection cannot. You have to give Vishaya Charya Kabe Shuddhabhiman Kabe Hama Herabo Shirindavam. If we want to enter in the spiritual world, one has to become freed of all of these false desires. There's so many statements of our acharyas in this regards. Dhruva Maharaj, we've already mentioned how he approached the Lord looking for broken pieces of glass in the form of the material assets. Now that I've seen you, I've lost all interest, and I realize that just having the opportunity to serve you is the real jewel, it's the real gem. That's the real asset, not the other aspect of God that he's materially protecting, he's materially providing, which he is, but that's not the real purpose. It's not the real purpose. Love, loving exchange, not monetary exchange. It's not a business relationship. Sukracharya is taking the business side, the material side. You could say that through him, Krishna is testing Bali Maharaj also. The Lord does test the reactions, to see how we respond when you don't. And they always get that all the time, you know, in France, anywhere in the world, where, you know, Krishna's testing us to see, are we attached to the assets, or are we like, you know, Duryodhana who wants the assets of the Lord, or are we like Arjuna who wants the Lord? He's testing us in that way, in so many ways. And to both gross and subtle. Fulfill all my, take away all my problems. Give me what I want. To some degree we may see that in ourselves. And when we don't get what we want, we become morose. Maybe we start criticizing the Lord or the process or the devotees or something. We may do. Sometimes that happens. We're too self-centered. But even that, ultimately, Krishna is trying to, out of his attachment or his desire to protect his devotees, he's trying to take away those remnants of false ego from our hearts. It takes time. We're stubborn. Prabhupada said that, Krishna wants us back to Godhead much more than we want to go back to Godhead. We sometimes fight against it when the reality is there. Sounds nice on paper, and maybe when things are going well, we think this is, I'm really a good devotee. When they don't go so well, then the tendency is we start blaming someone else, start blaming the Lord sometimes, I don't believe him anymore. It's quite common. People's faith is very shallow. They give up. Bali Maharaj he kind of passed, more or less passed the test. Eventually he passed it fully. He more or less passed the test. He big test, his spiritual master is not yet, it comes up in a while, is about to curse him, basically. If you go ahead with this, I curse you. You're finished anyway, but I'm going to curse you even more. Because you're breaking my promise. You're getting in the way of my program. Stop you from doing that. But Bali Maharaj did not back off. He was determined to carry on despite all hardships, despite defamation even. For a Kshatriya, defamation is partly the biggest, you could say, what would we say, the most devastating of all. Even Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, worse than death. One who has been famed, defamation is worse than death. Worse than death. Better die than to live in that situation. See this among Kshatriyas, whether it's Krishna cutting off the hairs of Rukmi or whatever it is, Jarasandha being humiliated. These are fates or situations worse than death, practically, for a Kshatriya, being humiliated. It's unbearable. So for Bali Maharaj, in one sense, yes, this is a potentially unbearable situation. To fulfill his promise, there is an attachment there on his part, which hasn't yet been broken, but still, it's a big step in the direction towards breaking it. But he's still attached to something which isn't his. And he's very attached to his promise. Why? Because what will people think? If he says something and he doesn't do it, then you become defamed in another way. So he chose to follow that path of sticking to his promise, because no one ever in my dynasty has ever made such a promise and retracted it. So he's very, proud, you could say, of his heritage. He's very proud of that. It's not, materially speaking, it's not wrong in one sense. It's pious, you could say, to uphold that vow. But it's not transcendental. Krishna protects the promise. He protected the promise of Bhishma in the battle of Kurukshetra. Above his own promise, he promised he would not take part in the battle of Kurukshetra. In terms of, other than driving the chariot of Arjuna, he would not take any part in actually interfering with the actual fighting. But in the case of Bhishma, he took it upon himself to attack Bhishma, to protect his devotee Arjuna. It's another angle, another reason, but the real thing he's protecting here is the promise of Bhishma. Either I will make Krishna break his promise, or I will kill all the Pandavas. So Krishna fulfilled his promise. He made him break Krishna's promise. Or Krishna broke his promise to protect the Pandavas. There's another angle, back to Vatsala, how Krishna protects or loves his devotees, to he had a mission to fulfill in that particular case. But in his heart of hearts, he's protecting the vow or the promise of Bhishma Deva, who also is pure devotee. So in this case, he's also helping to protect Bali Maharaj, protect his promise. Although it appears that Bhishma lost everything, he was defeated due to Krishna's intervention. And here again, he's going to be defeated. Bali Maharaj is, materially speaking, defeated, but they gain everything. Bhishma was so happy to see the Lord coming towards him in that form, fulfilling all his desires. Materially, people cannot understand. And especially in the case of Bali Maharaj, how can you understand? Thank you, Lord, for taking everything away. My Lord is so kind, he's taken everything away from me. Prabhupada said the same thing, huh? When he left his family, in different words, but now I have nothing. Where are my family? Where are my possessions? Where is everything? Nothing left, and it gives me a laugh. He had nothing, he was destitute in Vrindavan. And you have to be let go of everything. It's not that that's our goal of life, but we have to be let go of the idea that this is mine and I have everything or anything. Let go. Krishna's kindness, he takes away that false identity, that false attachment. That's his protection. Because all of these various attachments are causes of our suffering. They're causes of our repeated birth and death. So Krishna doesn't want us to go through this repetitive cycle of birth and death, even if we are some kind of Sakama Bhakta. He wants us to come at this first stage, Nishkama Bhakta. This is a stage, but at least Nishkama, free of all these ideas, all of these attachments. This is to become free. If we really want to relish the essence or the real juice, the real nectar of devotion, then one has to become free of all material affection. Spiritual affection is there, but not material affection. We tend to be very much affected by this material affection, mundane attachment. But Krishna's mercy is he takes that away. He may not take the possession away, he may do, but the idea is to take away this whole falsity of thinking I'm the doer, I'm the owner, and so on and so forth. The devotee must risk everything in his possession for the service of the Lord. Krishna himself says, give up everything, sarvadharma parityajya. Abandon all these other kinds of shelters, even the attachment to the varnashram. Give it all up. Give everything up. Surrender to me. I will protect you. Have no fear. In the heart of hearts, the devotee will feel satisfaction, even with nothing, materially. By materialistic, but he's always protected and never defeated. By materialistic calculation, Shukracharya thought that Bali Maharaj would, under no circumstances, be able to keep his promise to the Brahmachari Lord of Agnidev. He couldn't conceive of this other angle. And even externally, of course, he wasn't thinking of what Bali Maharaj eventually did. We'll see that comes up later. But how Bali Maharaj, even from the external point of view, fulfilled that promise and became forevermore famous for that, actually. He's famous for giving up everything. He's not famous for it. Most people are famous because they achieve something. They're rich, they're powerful, they're pious, they're this, they're that, powerful. But Bali Maharaj became famous because he gave up everything. Prahlad Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj was also compared to Bali Maharaj. To offer everything to the Lord. King Shibi, some great personalities in history who proved their, let's say, character by their actions. They were without attachment, willingly giving up everything, taking a great risk, depending on the Lord. They're teaching us lessons. It's a stage and path to pure devotional service. If we're not willing to, not that we should be foolish and just not try to look after that which really is belonging to Krishna, but we're attached because it belongs to Krishna, not because it belongs to me. It's like, who was it became? Was it Gorkishore Das Babaji when a monkey came and stole a bunch of bananas and he got so angry, chasing the monkey? And somebody would say, why are you so attached? It's just a bunch of bananas. He said, oh, they're to be offered to Krishna. They're Krishna's bananas. He wasn't thinking, my bananas, I won't have any bananas to eat now. What am I going to eat? Who took my prasadam? Sometimes devotees have this experience. Huh? Someone saves you prasadam, and in the meantime, you come back later on, it's not there anymore. Someone's taken it. Who took my prasadam? They become really disturbed. There's a famous story, isn't there? Ramanujacharya and one of his disciples, Dhanudas. Dhanudas was a very rich disciple. He'd been a wrestler, a very famous strong man in the area. Somehow he was very rich, he had a beautiful wife, he had a big house. Disciple, but brahmacharis, they were a little envious of him because somehow or another Ramanujacharya had a very close relationship. He spent a lot of time with him. So some kind of envy was there almost. And I was thinking, we're brahmacharis, we've given up everything. This guy is, maybe devotee, but he's so attached. He's got all these material things, and his house is a Grihamaidi practically. He's hardly a Grihastha. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, another one. Beautiful example. So this Dhanudas, he had all this wealth still. So Ramanujacharya could see their minds. They were disturbed. So one day while they were bathing, Ramanujacharya made the arrangement that moved all of their coat pens and gumchas, everything was moved around, all their clothes were moved around. And they came back from the bathing and, hey, who's taken my kopans? If you don't know what that is, ladies, that's male underwear, at least for brahmacharis. Who's taken my dhoti? Who's taken this? And who's taken my lota? They were so disturbed. Quarreling with each other. Hey, you got my dhoti. Hey! Hey, Prabhu, you've got my bead bag. That's my bead bag. You took my pen. Sometimes we get like this. So they were all like this, and then eventually they kind of sussed it out and sorted things, but they were really disturbed. One day Ramanujacharya said, you know what, I've been doing everything I can to help this Dhanurdaras. But he's so attached. He's so attached. So attached. I mean, maybe you can go and just see for yourself just how attached he really is. I've tried everything I can, but still. So they thought, oh, well, we didn't realize that. We thought, that actually Guru Maharaj was actually trying to help him because he's, as we thought, he's just a real materialist, really. So they were quite similar, keen to check this one out. So they gave him said, you just hide and watch this, and you do what I say. And so he said, when Dhanurdas is out, I'll call him over here, and while he's over here, you go there, and you wait for his wife. His wife takes a nap in the afternoon, so you whilst he's sleeping, you take away all the valuable things in the house, okay? And then wait outside, hide yourselves, and see when Dhanurdas comes back. Just see his reaction. Then you know how attached he is. So they happily went ahead with this task, and they started taking everything away, putting it in bags. And then, of course, she had jewels all over her. So they thought, oh, we should try to take those as well. We should take everything. So they carefully slid the bracelets and the rings and everything off of her arm. But she was lying on her side, so they couldn't get to the other side. So all of a sudden she moved, and then they quickly ran away and hid. So she had jewels on one arm and nothing on the other. So after some time they're hiding with all these jewels hidden somewhere. And Dhanurdas came back, and he saw his wife, and what's wrong? What's going on today? Why have you only got your jewels on one side of your body, nothing on the other side? And then she said, well, the brahmacharis from Guru Maharaj's ashram came today to the house, and they thought I was asleep, but I was just resting. And I saw that they took all the jewels out of all the cupboards, and then they tried to take the jewels off of me as well. So they took them off of one of the arms, but when I moved so that they could get them from the other arm, they all ran away. They said, you stupid woman, you should have stayed still. They may have been able to get them off the other arm if you stayed still. But you scared them away. They had the shock of their lives. No attachment at all. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything belongs to you. Somehow or another you may have wealth for whatever reason, but you understand it all belongs to Krishna. And then when they went back, so did you see what I told you? And you saw how attached they are. They were all looking down in shame. They were very shameful. And so now you understand. The other day when your kopans appeared to be missing, how did you respond? They could understand. It's not really the real protection. It's not what you have or what you don't have. Is how we see it, our perception of the situation, perception of the world. It's not that we have to change the world to become poverty-stricken. No, it's how we see things. You can be like Pundarik Vijayanidhi appeared to be a gross material enjoyment, so rich and opulent. But he was a totally, what's it called, Nirapeksha Bhakta, completely detached, totally attached to Krishna. In no attachment, whatever, if Krishna took it all away in a moment, it would make no difference. Their attachment is to Krishna, not the externals. Whereas others see it externally and they think, oh, he's just a materialist. Huh? People see that with devotees. Huh? You're just like everyone else, you're after money. Huh? You guys are all after money. You're living in a big place out there in Sarcelle. I saw it there. You got a palace in Sarcelle. St. Brits. Is it St. Brits? No. You have a palace. They say that where we do. You have we are living in a chateau. A chateau in the countryside. You guys. And you're coming here. You're asking for money. Why are you asking for money? You're living in a chateau. Well, it's not quite a chateau, same as some of the chateaus, but nonetheless it's a chateau. It's a transcendental chateau. And sometimes people see like, oh, you big car. Where do you get the money for that car? You should walk. Look at your shoes, Nike. What did you do? Pinch them out of Nikes, did you? When they had the riot a few years ago. And there's people even wearing Nike shoes, they criticize. Envious and attached. They want the me. The devotee doesn't see it like that. This is Krishna's. To be used in Krishna's service. That's all. We have nothing to lose, because we have nothing in the first place to lose. Everything belongs to Krishna. The only thing we have to lose is this false idea that it doesn't belong to Krishna. And it's Krishna's protection is that he protects the devotees from that illusion. And if we have that illusion, his protection is he takes it away. That's his mercy. Pretty hard, but not always so easy to stomach, to digest, but that's Krishna's mercy. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Jai Gaur. Hare Krishna. Rohit.
Like Bali Maharaj attacked on demigods before.
Excuse me?
Bali Maharaj.
Bali Maharaj.
Attacked on the heaven.
Attached on the heaven.
Demigods are representative of Supreme God.
The devotees are representatives of Krishna.
Yeah. But how Krishna was side on the Bali Maharaj?
Why did Krishna side on Bali Maharaj? Well, he didn't. From the material point of view, he certainly didn't, did he? He took everything away. The demigods were delighted. Krishna satisfied their desires. He sent him down to hell. Kicked him out of heaven. Right?
But he became famous as a pure devotee.
Huh?
But as we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam,
Yeah, he became a pure devotee.
how can we understand this point?
Well, I tried to explain it. Maybe I didn't. He fulfills everyone's desires. The demigods, they're attached, they're sakama bhaktas, they're not nishkama bhaktas. They're attached to their ideas that Krishna has to protect our position, he has to protect our property, protect our families. So Krishna fulfilled their desires. With Bali Maharaj, as I tried to mention earlier, he has a role to play in Krishna's pastimes to show what the real wealth is. It's not depending on where you are or what you've got or what people think of you. Depending on a relationship in the heart, an attitude. Bali Maharaj had that attitude. He's the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. He was blessed by Prahlad Maharaj. He was a devotee. Look at Vritrasura. Vritrasura was, basically, of course Chitraketu was cursed to become a demon, but he wasn't really a demon, but he was in the form of a demon. And his role was to kill Indra, but Indra killed him. And you could say, Krishna, why, what's going on here? He's fulfilling Indra's desire, but actually it was Vritrasura who was the winner. Vritrasura was totally like Bali Maharaj. He was completely attached to... Bali Maharaj wasn't, you could say, manifesting complete attachment to the Lord in one sense. Vritrasura was manifesting complete attachment to the Lord. Bali Maharaj's attachment was, if this is indeed the Lord whom you talk about, then definitely I will give him all whatever he asks. Vritrasura was more kind of Krishna conscious in one sense. Reciprocating accordingly. With Bali Maharaj, eventually, of course, Bali Maharaj did come back, and he was given the position of the King of Heaven, so he still had to stay in this world, you could say, and rule the heavens for a long time. Vritrasura was different. He was delivered there and then back to God. He didn't have any attachments. He was just playing his part. He was playing his part in the Leela. So he was delivered. He didn't want to have any more part in this mundane world. Chitraketu. He was a great devotee. Just had to take another birth like that. So the Lord knows the heart of everyone, and he's reciprocating accordingly. We may not know from the outside what's going on in the inside. We only see the outside. What's actually happening on the inside may not be known to us. What is the plan of the Lord? Ultimately, everything depends on the Lord's plan. You can't measure why Krishna did this and why he did that in every case. It's the free will of the Lord. Could be for showing an example. Could be because we don't recognize what's going on inside the heart. Could be other reasons. Many cases, what did Ajamil do to deserve the mercy he got? It appeared to be very demoniac. Of course, it was easy to say he chanted his son's name at the time of death. There's more to it than that. The free will of the Lord is acting. There may be external causes, but ultimately we can't measure why Krishna does or certain things just from karma. It's not, devotional service is not dependent upon karma. It's not dependent on any, itself. It is completely dependent on itself. Completely dependent on itself. So, ultimately, everything rests on Krishna. You can't measure it exactly. Why this one? Why that one? Why not this one? But Krishna's reciprocating. He's reciprocating. Try to learn from the example. Don't try to measure it. We can't measure these things exactly. We can learn from the example. We can try to some degree at least, apply it in our lives. We don't have much to give up anyway.
True.
Maybe you've got some kopans and some dhodis and some saris and some rings and a few things. Maybe you've got a bicycle. Some rich people have cars. But it's not very much, really. Amazing how attached we are. Everyone's got a mobile, of course. Where's my first thing is, someone's taken my mobile. We've lost it or not, but first thought, who's taken my mobile? No. Someone's pinched my mobile. Krishna wants to take away, Hare wants to take away our false egos, this false identity. Sarva upadi vinimuktam, take away all these upadis, all these false attachments and identities. It's one of the first symptoms of pure devotional service, tat patat venanyamam. The heart becomes cleansed, but as long as it's full of all these straws and dust in the heart, as we heard last week on Gundicha Majra, full of straws and dust, full of attachments, full of all kinds of anarthas. Krishna wants to take them away. Everyone's getting this. I mean, the devotee or demon, Krishna's doing the same for everyone, different ways. He's punishing the demon in a different way than he is the devotee. But nonetheless, the ultimate purpose behind it is to release that prisoner from this material prison house, material world. There's some reformative process or something, some lesson, something or another going on here to try to free us from this false attachment, yehi samspashaja bhoga dukkhi evate, these causes of suffering. The demigods really were because they wanted, they were attached to the kingdom. Bali Maharaj was not attached. He was doing his duty to control, to conquer the universe, his part, but he wasn't so attached. But the demigods were really attached. Of course they were attached to their service, they were attached to their place, they were attached to their position in the universe and so on. And in relationship with Krishna, but nonetheless they still had, not all of them, but the general, not the higher ones, but from Indra and his, let's say, generation, they were attached. They were attached. Krishna's showing lesson. Anything else?
Thank you.
You remind me of the Chandrasekhar Swami. He was talking about how the people approach God for material things. So he said, God is God and Santa Claus is Santa Claus. Don't get them mixed up.
Don't get them mixed up.
Like when you want material things, go to Santa Claus. When you want to give volunteer service, you go to God.
Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Yeah, well, I remember when you were a kid, I don't know if you know, have you heard of Santa Claus? Have you ever heard of him? You heard of Santa Claus?
Yes.
You have?
Very popular.
Huh?
Popular with her.
I don't know, in France you have the same thing, Santa Claus?
Père Noël?
Père Noël.
For Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, Père Noël in France.
Got a different name, has he?
Yes, the different name, but the same figure, the same.
Same person. You've heard of Santa Claus, Rasa Brian? Really, even in India? How did you hear of Santa Claus?
Which is quite famous in India.
Okay. British introduction, probably.
Omnipresent.
Huh?
He is omnipresent.
Omnipresent.
But this image of someone magical fulfilling the desires at least once per year would be desire.
At least once a year, come on. All year long, I never get anything. At least once a year.
It is very welcome by all the, I think, continents because it's what jivas want.
In Russia also? Yes.
It's called differently. Like now, it's maybe westernized, but it was called Ded Moroz. But yes, it's the same.
It was there in Russia too. Interesting, huh? I don't know the exact history, but I know my history with Santa Claus. Kids particularly, it's mainly children, isn't it? Well, I don't know what you do here, but we used to put like a sack, a sack like a big bag, at the bottom of the bed. We hang it at the bottom of the bed. And then Santa Claus comes and fills it up with all your wishes, all what you want for Christmas. Train set, teddy bear. I mean, those days it was quite simple, Now it's difficult. All the latest technology, I guess.
Maharaj, in Australia they put out cookies, milk, carrots, a nice floor because they want to
Feed him.
feed the reindeer.
They're offering him boga.
Oh.
And sometimes for the kids, parents put marks on the grass.
Masks.
Marks on
Mark.
the grass so it looks like the sleigh landed and they
Oh.
put glitter on the grass.
Nice. You should start doing that here, Christmas Eve. Anyway, my experience with Santa Claus, I was really keen to meet him, so You go to sleep at night on New Year, on Christmas Eve, and you wake up and you're so anticipating your sack full of all of those things you prayed for and all those things you told Mummy during the year you wanted, and so on and so forth. And you wake up and you might be disappointed or you may be very happy, depends what's in there. And so one year I feigned being asleep. Feigned means I wasn't really asleep, but I looked asleep. So I was eagerly waiting to see Santa Claus. What does he look like? When's he going to come? We see the pictures of him. But I really wanted to see him. And that was the end of my, you could say, my excitement on Christmas Eve. When I saw my father coming in the middle of the night with all these things and putting them in the bag. Oh, it was so disappointing. So disappointing. And my faith in Santa Claus disappeared. What to do? It was my father. What to do? I was expecting him to come down the chimney, you know. And outside, in the window, we would see the sleigh with a reindeer, you know, in the air, and the bearded Father Christmas coming down the chimney with his big sack on his back, and what to do, but it was so disappointing. So I guess I never really equated Santa Claus with God, but up to then maybe. And anyway, it's a good example, isn't it? People think he's simply someone who fills my sack with all my material desires. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sounds like Australia is a good place to go for Christmas.
Yeah, get milk and cookies.
Huh? Huh?
Milk and cookies.
Nice cookies. What they call that famous Australian cookie? Huh? What's it called? Huh? There's another one, isn't there? There's two. What's the other one called? Is it a cookie or is it like a cake or something? What's it called?
Lamington?
What's it called?
Is it Lamington? The chocolate
Yeah.
with the coconut on it?
Yeah. What's it called again?
Lamington.
Lamington, yes. Yeah, they like the Lamingtons.
Please send the receipt.
In France, they put wine, a bottle of wine, different types of wine. You have wine for Christmas, right? People give wine.
But for children, probably.
Wine. Ever different.
But in the past, my mom used to receive some oranges for Christmas.
Oranges,
more.
yeah.
Like, it was more
Chinese New Year, also the oranges, these little oranges. Everyone gives oranges, different gifts. Giving of gifts, by the way, is not discouraged. It's materially, also it's part of society. And spiritually also, it's one of the loving exchanges. It's not in of itself. It's the illusion of the problem, not the activity. We should give gifts. Even to poor people we should give gifts, but they should be appropriate to the circumstance. Not money necessarily. Prasadam, or sometimes there's other things too. One has the means, one may give clothing and various things. It's not unbecoming. Something appropriate to help them on their path, materially and spiritually. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.